All right, Francisco, welcome. We're going to, at BIFIT, we're going to be watching your documentary, which you finished in 2014, but it tells the story that kind of goes back to 1998, I believe. I'm going to ask you about the details of this whole journey. When you sort of first heard about it, how did you know about it? What kind of picked up your interest to go over there and bring us this story, which, as we were talking before we went into the recording for the Q&A session, for me, the documentary holds a lot of symbolism. And it's first of all, I want to congratulate you on the really tranquil, slow pace, the documentary, just it flows and it shows us the snippets of the whole story. We don't really see the what we're used to. There is not a narrator. We're kind of finding out as we keep on watching the documentary, as things unfold. We keep on asking questions. There is an artist who went into some man's land, the indigenous people in Venezuela in this case. He saw something, he liked it, he picked it up and he brought it home. And then, as I was telling you before, all house of cards fell apart. That was sort of the beginning, like that was the one evil deed that sort of, maybe he didn't even think of it as being evil. Maybe he didn't even think at all. He just saw something he liked. And he just, without asking permissions, he took it home, and all of a sudden, it sort of became this huge international problem between Venezuela and Germany, which basically was instigated by the indigenous tribes themselves. But there is also a second story that's kind of unfolding behind, which we hear very little about, and it's but we know it's there, and we know it sort of it also works into this story, and they go parallel. And instead of the electrical centrals, the lines that are being set up, again, man coming into another man's land and without asking permissions, using that land for his own purposes, for his own good. And then all of this revolves around a mythology in which it is a mythology of two lovers in the end, as we find out. But again, it's about a forbidden relationship of, the man coming and finding, seeing the woman he likes and taking that woman, and all of a sudden them being turned into stone. So there are three things that are going on. There is the whole mythology, the story behind it. There is the reality on the ground with these big electrical companies doing these major investments on indigenous lands. And then there is the other story, the main sort of story we're following of Kueka, this beautiful jasper stone, which has been displaced from its original setting and taken to a foreign land, put on display, just as the indigenous people in the old colonial times, as we see now, the old colonial times are not old, they're still ongoing, but in the old colonial times, they have been taken from their land and put in display in Europe for others to ogle and say, wow, look at these, these men living in these conditions. Okay, so I've talked a lot, but I just asked you a lot of questions.
Thank you very much. I understand my film now.
Okay, and now I'll just throw the ball at you, and please take it from there and start answering on whichever field you feel comfortable first.
No, thank you very much, because we did this film 7 years ago, maybe more. Yeah, it's around 7. And yes, it's very nice to talk about it again and again and again, because it's for me, it's a love story. Yeah, how was it? There is an institution, a German institution in Venezuela. I think it's around the world, which is the Goethe Institute. Goethe Institute.
Goethe.
And I had worked with them because I am a theater director also. This is my first profession. I'm an actor and a theater director, and I did some theater with them. So the president of the Goethe Institute in Venezuela, he told me about this story. I have heard about it, but I didn't know what was it really, the whole story. So I told them, listen, I can go there and find if it's real, the story. That is not the thing that the stone was taken, but the thing that if it was really a sacred stone. And so I went there and I filmed with the people from the town. I filmed his land, his stories. And finally, I understood that, of course, it was a raped thing. I don't know if raped, una violación, yeah, it was a raped story, because this stone for them, it's like their grandmother. It's like imagine that they told me, imagine that a guy take your grandmother, naked her into the land in el exterior, digamos, and keep her for years and years in the outside, your grandmother. That's what we feel. So yeah, so we decided to do what can we do with this story? We can do a theater piece, we can do protesting actions, or a documentary. So we decided to do a documentary, and but there is an interesting thing here, because this was the Goethe Institute, but when the German embassy knew about our
intentions,
they decided to stop everything. And so there was a problem between them, the Goethe Institute and the embassy. So at the end, the embassy told me, the Goethe Institute told me, okay, we are going to pay you the film, but don't say anything. I can tell you this now, because unfortunately, this guy, the president of the Goethe Institute in Venezuela at that time, he passed away 1 year ago. He was my friend. So I can tell you now without problem that was the way we found the money to do the funding to do the film. So it's a love story, because the old story, it's about these lovers. You know, it's like Romeo and Julieta from Shakespeare. It's the same story in all the cultures. The first love, the first prohibiting love, and the punishment about your first love. The punishment of the what you really want in your life. It's the punishment between the old man and the young guys. So these young lovers try to escape loving each other, but the God said, no, it's not possible. You can't do that, because you need my
permission.
Permission. So the God transformed them in rocks. And that's the beginning of the story. It's Adán y Eva. It's the Bible. Is all cultures have a kind of stories. in that way. So, and then the problem was that it wasn't as easy as I tell you, because in the moment that this German guy took the rock, only the old man or the old woman in the town knew that that stone was their grandmother. The young guys, for them, it was just a rock. So there is another problem in a part of the problems you said, is that what happened with the cultures that are in transition between the old one and this kind of mixed culture between indigenous and Occidental cultures. That so you don't know exactly what's happening there, no? And so try to help me making questions, because my English is not so.
No. I'm just I'm listening to your story. It's fantastic. Now, a few things. It's amazing. The young people, what you said, the diversion between the young people and the old people knowing the stories, and the young people, because what they have to deal with in life now in the modern society, they have to find work, they have to go to school, they have to get educated, etc., etc. They do not really have time for these myths. But once they find out about them, that's when the whole thing starts rolling, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That was yeah. So when they heard from their old people, the grandmothers and grandfathers told them, "Hey, listen, this is our Cueca, this is our grandmother." They said, "Oh, what's happening here?" And at that moment, they were protesting because of the electricity towers.
Now, what was that story? That's we know a little bit about it in the documentary, because the protesters are telling us in detail how they tore the electric towers, and we know that the company was passing through. They were basically trespassing. They were passing through their land without permission again from
the same thing, without their permission. So the colonial kind of actions was from this German rich guy. I cannot say what is he? What is he? If it's an artist, if he's not an artist.
No, well, ethically, that's not, that's not art. That's, like you said, prior. There is this painting by Rubens, which Picasso also did a version of it in his own style. It's the rape of the Sabine women. The army comes and rape means not rape, which eventually happened in the story, but the picture, the painting depicts these big muscular men coming and lifting up these women and kidnapping them. Basically, that's exactly what the word rape. And this is what the way you use rape in your while you were talking about this whole chronology, is it fits perfectly, because this is what this guy, this German guy, I cannot call him an artist.
I'm sorry, he's German, but I'm sorry for the Germans, but he was
the stone worker. Let's call him as a mason. This mason picked up this stone. He did two things. He not only picked up the stone, displaced it. Whether or not he knew it was sacred, that's another question. He claims that he didn't know, but the indigenous people also claim that it's impossible for him not to know, because he was there the whole time. He knew that it was sacred for the community, etc. But he took this stone, he displaced it. And then for me, which was sacrilege, was that he polished it. He actually touched it and he turned it into something which is beautiful in the colonial sense, right? for these people, it was beautiful the way it stood, right? But if you take it to Germany, it has to be polished, and the jasper needs to come out, and it needs to be this semi-precious stone, right? It's the monetary value.
Yeah, that's very impressive. How for I mean, for us Occidental, because I am Occidental also, it's a beautiful rock because he took a machine and he cut all the skin of the rock. So for them, for the people, from the indigenous, it's awful. It's like to cut your grandmother into pieces, into take out their clothes and the skin and put it.
Exactly.
So yeah, but what is?
And he wrote, and he also, he not only did all these. Now this is a total spoiler. I don't know when they're going to broadcast this Q&A. I hope it's after the documentary. But
Yeah.
but he also wrote on the rock, right? It's sort of
Lord,
like
yeah, a very cursi. I don't know if it's cursi in English. Cursi. It's like a kitsch things.
Kitsch, exactly.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, and the words were what? The words were love or peace or
love,
something like that.
Yeah, love.
Love. Meanwhile, sorry, I'm laughing. But meanwhile, the action of actually taking the stone from the among all the other stones that are there in the indigenous land is he's breaking up the love, because the abuelo, the grandfather, is still in the indigenous land. He's only taking the grandmother, right?
Oh, I forgot the other one. It's like
exactly, another 30-ton haul over to Germany. But hey, that's too expensive. I don't have the money for it. That's exactly what he said, right? I don't have the money for it.
Exactly. So, but apart of this guy, the problem is that this kind of actions is not only in this guy, it's also in our governments, because he took the rock because he had some permission of the government. I don't know if he pays something, or we don't know that. So the problem is, doesn't matter what happened, but these people there, these indigenous people, they are like 500 years ago. Same shit. They are fighting and fighting and fighting to tell everybody, hey, listen, we are here and this is our land. Are you going to understand this, or we have to? What we have to do to make you understand that this is our land?
Exactly.
You cannot come here and do whatever you want, Venezuelan, German, or whatever. So, and this is very difficult to understand, and it happens in all the world. For example, in Australia, I went to Australia to work there. And it's the same for the indigenous people in Australia. Tell to the Australians, listen, guys, we are okay. Now we are, I don't know, 2% of the population of Australia, but this is our land. Do you understand that? Yes, of course, we are going to make schools for you. No, not schools. This is our land.
Exactly. And this is what is going on right now in North America as well. There is this huge land back movement with all the indigenous tribes that are up there in the United States and in Canada, First Nations. So maybe you'll finish this documentary in 2014, but in 2021, these are actually things that we're talking and hearing more and more. My friends in Boston, whose families have moved there, 300, 200 years ago, maybe, are now coming to terms with the fact that there are actually indigenous tribes in Massachusetts, and that actually the name of the state is an indigenous, you know, they are the Massachusetts. Who no longer exists because the white man wiped them out. But that's their land. And now, right at this juncture, in this festival, that we're going to have the opportunity to watch your film, watch your documentary. It's fantastic because you're telling this story, not now, you're telling the story in 2014, you're starting it in 2012, because we're seeing you travel. And I love those episodes in the German planes with the, with the liftoff and the landing recordings constantly going on. I felt, from my journeys, I felt like that was a little bit of a resentment of how many times I had to fly back and forth, and this issue is still not resolved, right?
Yeah. So another thing that is important is that because of the documentary, the government, Venezuelan government, and the German guys, they start again to talk what we are going to do with the rock, with the stone. And there is a an audio registration in which we I don't know if you remember that we put the screen in black, and we can hear the Venezuelan ambassador talking about the Cueca. And the way he talks about the Cueca, it's I don't know what is more terrible, or the German guy or our ambassador. So because it's so despective to them, no. So, but after the we did the documentary, the governments began to talk again. And the rock now is in Venezuela. Maybe because of the documentary. So I was talking about this the other day with another festival, and I said, this is maybe the first time I feel that what we do helps for something real, not for change minds of people, because, you know, that kind of things that what we do art. I don't know if this is art, but this is something that I don't know how to say in English.
Has an outcome, right? It has a tangible outcome that you can, like, okay, so the issue is resolved. Maybe it's how did it now? That's actually that was my final
but
question.
But it's not resolved. What?
Yeah.
Sorry. The problem is they put the rock in another place because it's more touristic. To show that the government it's a good government, and now everybody can see the rock. But the indigenous, they said, hey, listen, guys, it's not there. It has to be behind the abuelo, the grandfather. So no. Here is more beautiful because everybody can see the rock. So at the end, they stopped to think about the rock, the people, I mean, the indigenous. They stop, forget about this. This is terrible. That's not our grandmother, because they changed it. They changed the grandmother, it looks like a ballena, looks a whale. Yeah. But it's because they put it in another way. I mean, the rock wasn't like that when it was in the land. They changed the position of the rock, but they said, but in this side it's more beautiful because it's a whale. This is not a whale. It's
right. It's a symbolism for a mythology, and it's the grandmother, right? It's really incredible. I'm laughing not because I think it's funny. I think it's tragic, and but this is where we are right now. We're just laughing at our miserable world with our miserable values and the way that things have come out to be. It's sort of like laughing at Voltaire, but not laughing at, this is not a comedy. This is really sarcasm.
Yeah.
Okay, so the lovers still haven't united. The abuelo still hasn't met with the abuela, right? The Cueca is still not in the right place.
It's not in the same place it was, because they were behind, and now they are not behind.
See, the news story, because right after I watched the documentary, I went online and I said, okay, so what is the fate of Cueca now? And then I found this news story that, okay, it's been returned and the Maduro government accepted it, and that it was this big thing for the indigenous people. But now you're telling us, in actuality, it wasn't returned as it was supposed to be, and the indigenous people, I guess, right now are quite, have they given up, or are they still?
Well, the problem is that all the abuelas that knew the story, or that they were fighting because of the Cueca, they pass away.
Yeah.
So I think for them it's not the same value now.
Yeah, for the younger
generation. They are tired of being used for everybody. So I called the government, because I knew that the stone was the intention of the government was to take back the stone. So I called them. I called the government, and for if it's possible to register the traveling. And they say no, because we don't want people around this story. We just want to make our story now. And the story is that the government is a good government, and we are going to take back the stone. So use people to make politics. Use them to they are being used every time. That's a problem.
Yeah.
Because the stone is there, but they are living very bad, and the electricity is there, but the big towers are there, but they don't have electricity. It's the same thing.
Exactly. So, and this is also part of the conversation when the screen goes black and we hear the officials talking. Is that, what if we gave them $2 million versus the whale? It's so materialistic. Is that you understand that the people are so by themselves, they're so alone, because their government, and there is actually one instance when one of them says, who are we going to go to? Because you go to the officials, we went to the officials, we trusted them, the officials did nothing. And then new officials came, and it was this constant cycle of continuous. And then the German officials. That's a whole different story. Okay, so this is the story of Cueca, and the audience that's also watching this Q&A are going to watch the documentary, and they're going to have their own take on it. What is next for you in terms of documentaries? Is there going to be any new projects, or have you made anything since Cueca? Are you planning?
Not exactly in documentaries, but in films. I'm more in the fiction, in fictions. So I did a film last year. We are doing the post-production now. It's a comedy. It's not documentary. And then now I am in Argentina, and this is from Argentina. Do you know what it is? This is you put kind of tea inside this, and you put hot water and you drink it. This is an Argentinian specialty.
Wow.
Typical tea. And I'm working in a TV series now in Argentina. I'm an actor. So the documentary was an action that I did because I heard about the story, and I said, we have to do something about this. But it's not my profession, do documentaries. It's more in the fiction.
Yeah, and but I'm glad you heard about it, and I'm glad you did something about it. And you're so lucky that you did one documentary, maybe, but in the end, it had an outcome. Us journalists, we like you said in your previous comment, we constantly tell and we constantly talk and we constantly bring it into light, and we let people know about it. But in the end, it's such a rare instance when there is a tangible outcome. So at least, even if to the wrong place, at least the stone being returned to the land it belonged,
Yeah.
not to its original setting, is something. So what about this whole electricity situation, the protests and everything? Was it resolved?
No, they don't have electricity in that zone. They have to work with I don't know how to say in English that machine of electricity.
The generators.
Generators, yeah. They don't in the small towns around this land, big land. They don't have electricity, a normal electricity.
And what is the livelihood of the people that are living there? What do they do? How do they make a living?
There is I wrote a fiction story about what's happening there. It's a gold stone or diamonds. There are a lot of diamonds and gold in that zone. So they are working with mineral, minerals with taking out the minerals.
Yes.
But without permission, because they use poison things to take out the minerals, and so but is the only way to live in this moment. In that, it's a big zone, very big. It's like a country. It's a very, very big. So it's a big problem because the rivers and the land became poisoned. But it's the only way to survive.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm writing a script about this. It's an old man that discovered that he has an indigenous in his blood.
Yeah.
And he didn't know that. And he became a shaman after a big travel.
Well, okay. So
yeah.
when are we going to hear? When are we going to see it? When are we going to be able to watch that one?
Well, I don't know. Make films is very difficult. Wow.
All right. Well, but we'll look forward to it. Thank you so much for making Kueka, letting us know about the story, letting everyone who is going to watch it at the festival know about this story. I work with indigenous communities. I do news episodes on indigenous people in different lands. I didn't know the story of Kueka. And if it were not for your documentary, I wouldn't have found out about it. So thank you, a heartfelt thank you for letting us know about it, the mythology. There are so many other things that I wanted to talk to you about, but we ran out of time. There was this second in there of the anthropologist talking about von Humboldt coming over there because he wanted to determine the direction of the Orinoco, which is a fantastic little detail that works into your documentary, because Humboldt and Bonpland come to Venezuela to look at the Amazon to try to discern its directions. And as ecologists, as the father of ecology, he's just observing. He's not taking anything from there, but the colonial German mind comes and just takes this humongous 30-ton stone from there. So fantastic story. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so sorry that I talked a lot and ate up most of our.
No, thank you, because I don't have to talk too much in English. You asked me about if I have another documentary in my mind. Yes, I forgot to tell you. I have a material that I registered years ago. It's about the football game in the high jungle in the Amazon.
Fantastic.
It's fantastic. It's so you know, most of these cultures, they live in a kind of circle houses, no, small houses in a circle, and in the middle it's the common place for them to do anything. So now this space inside, they become a football court.
Field. Right.
And they play football inside in the same place in where before they used to do rituals or to eat or make a lot of things, the common life. But now the football became this sort of common place, and they play fantastic. Oh, of course, they because they play a lot of time. They have time to play.
But this is also in a really high altitude, right? So oxygen there is a problem.
No high altitude. I wanted to say high Orinoco. It's in the jungle, inside the jungle.
Deep. It's deep inside the
deep jungle. In the deep jungle.
Fantastic.
So nobody goes there. It's very difficult to go there. Only sometimes by boat or walking 2 or 3 or 4 days or a week walking to their places. And when you arrive there, it's a football space.
Fantastic. Okay, great. So there are two great projects. We're looking forward to the film. I'm looking forward to the film. But I'm sure the guys at Bifed will also let the audience know about it once it comes out, about this man who finds out about his indigenous ancestry. And I'm definitely looking forward to these football players that are playing deep in the jungle. Thank you so much for joining me on this Q&A session. And you know, we'd love to see you back in Bifed at the Moderatör Independent Film Festival and in person as well in the coming years.
Thank you very much. It was very funny to talk with you. I had a great time.
Thank you.